Usually when we move through a city, we treat these transitional spaces like loading screens in a video game. You know what I
Well,
mean?
but absolutely, like a sterile waiting room or a dim subway car.
Yeah, exactly. Or a massive concrete parking garage.
Yeah.
Your brain just sort of powers down. You're between the places that actually matter.
Right, because you're just trying to get from point A to point B. It's pure function.
Exactly. And we culturally define those spaces as voids, right?
Yeah, we do. They're just these empty gaps in our experience that exist purely for convenience. I mean, we measure their value entirely by how quickly we can leave them.
But what if those loading screens are actually the most crucial part of the map? What if the spaces we just completely ignore are quietly accumulating everything we leave behind?
That is the big question.
Right. So welcome to this deep dive into our source material, where we are going to explore a deeply philosophical, honestly mesmerizing narrative about a space you would normally never look twice at.
A very mundane, gray, concrete parking garage in Rotterdam.
Yes. And to you, the curious learner listening right now, get ready, because we are going to dismantle how you view the empty spaces in your own life.
It's a really incredible journey. And our guide through this source material is a man named Daan Roelofs.
Right. So tell us a bit about Daan.
So Daan is 43 years old, and he has spent the last 12 years working as the night attendant at a Europark Solutions parking facility.
12 years. Just doing the night shifts.
12 years. And he spends his nights sitting in this booth, which he actually meticulously measured. It's exactly 6 feet by 4 feet by 7 feet high.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he literally describes it in his notes as the size of a, quote, generous coffin.
A generous coffin. I mean, on the surface, that sounds like a totally miserable existence.
You would think so, yeah.
But for Daan, it's actually his ultimate sanctuary. Because over these 12 years, he hasn't just been stamping tickets and, blankly watching security monitors.
Not at all.
He has filled 84 notebooks with this incredibly dense, hyper-detailed philosophical system mapping out the entire garage.
The cars, the people who park there, everything.
Right. He basically treats this gray concrete box as if it were the absolute center of the universe.
And at the center of that universe is the automated ticket machine, which Daan has affectionately named Gerald.
Gerald the ticket machine.
Yes. And Gerald is, according to Dan's notebooks, a profound philosopher. Because, I mean, think about what a ticket machine actually does.
It dispenses a little slip of paper.
Right. A slip of paper that says arrival, followed by a very precise timestamp. It offers absolutely no judgment about where you've been, what you've done, where you're going.
It's totally neutral.
Exactly. It simply provides objective proof of your existence in that exact moment.
But Daan actually noticed this tiny anomaly about Gerald, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He got obsessive about it.
He literally spent weeks lying on the cold concrete ramp with a stopwatch, timing the exact millisecond a car's tires hit the physical sensor versus the exact moment Gerald prints the time on the ticket.
Just lying there in the dark.
Yeah. And he discovered a lag. Gerald prints the timestamp exactly 0.003 seconds after the car actually arrives.
It's such a specific detail.
Okay, let's unpack this because, on its face, that sounds like a quirky, meaningless trivia fact. Who cares about a fraction of a second, right?
Right.
But Daan realizes this tiny technical delay actually represents the fundamental human condition. It's the permanent gap between the reality of an event and our record or our representation of it.
Oh, absolutely. Because of the limits of our biology and our technology, we are always constantly just slightly behind the present moment.
Yes, the representation is forever catching up to the real.
We never actually inhabit the absolute present. We only ever inhabit the immediate memory of it. And Daan really wrestles in his notebooks with whether this 0.0003 second lag is a tragedy of human isolation or just a neutral mechanical fact of existence.
And to cope with that gap, he maps every inch of this garage.
Every single inch. All 17 levels are documented to try and understand exactly how humans move through these tiny slivers of time.
So our mission today is to follow Daan as his perfectly measured, predictable world is breached by human irrationality.
Because it does break.
It breaks, yeah.
Yeah.
He encounters anomalies that force him to go deeper, literally and figuratively, revealing this profound truth about what the Earth is doing with our forgotten thoughts.
So if Daan's world is this closed, perfectly timed loop, it begs the question of what happens when someone just refuses to follow the route.
And that breach starts with a car.
Right. A dark blue Citroen C5 pulling into level 17 at 3 in the morning.
And level 17 is essentially undocumented. I mean, it has no ticket barrier, zero maintenance, and a ceiling so low, Daan writes, that it feels like a thought that hasn't finished developing.
Such a great description. Absolutely no one parks there.
Until a woman named Vera arrives.
Yes, Vera. So Vera is a logistics analyst. She spends her waking hours optimizing supply chain flows, finding the most ruthlessly efficient paths for global freight.
Her whole life is about efficiency.
Exactly. Her entire career is dedicated to stripping away delays and wasted movement. And yet she drives to the deepest, most neglected basement of this garage, steps out of her car, and just stands with her back against the raw concrete wall for exactly 47 minutes at a time.
Just standing there. That behavior completely shatters Demand's system. He eventually goes down to confront her, trying to figure out what she's doing.
And what develops from that confrontation is this fascinating philosophical exchange. Vera explains that she feels devoured by a modern world that demands maximum efficiency in every single aspect of life.
She's burning out.
Right. So to explain her presence, she introduces a mathematical concept from her logistics work called optimization theory, specifically focusing on something called a random perturbation.
Okay, optimization theory. Break that down for us.
So in optimization theory, algorithms often get trapped in what mathematicians call a local minimum. Imagine a landscape of hills and valleys. The algorithm's goal is to find the lowest possible point, the global optimum.
Absolute bottom.
Right. But sometimes it settles into a shallow valley, a local minimum. It looks around and sees that every immediate direction goes uphill, so it just assumes it has found the absolute bottom.
So it's a good solution, but it's stuck.
Exactly. To find the true best path, the algorithm must be forced to inject chaos. It has to take a deliberate, inefficient, objectively worse step backward.
Which is the random perturbation.
Yes, a random perturbation to bump itself out of that shallow valley and continue searching for the real solution.
Think of it like a GPS navigation system routing you.
Yeah.
Sometimes a GPS gets so obsessed with micro-efficiency that it insists on pulling you off a smooth-moving highway to drag you through this frustrating, convoluted residential side street.
Oh, I hate when it does that.
Right. Just because the algorithm calculates it's technically 3 seconds shorter,
Yeah.
it entirely misses the conceptually better route because it is trapped in that local minimum of pure data.
Yeah, that's a perfect analogy. And Vera realizes her own psychology is stuck in that exact way. Her life is perfectly optimized on paper, but she is miserable.
So level 17 is her deliberate wrong turn. It's her random perturbation to escape the relentless GPS of modern expectations.
And what's fascinating here is how Vera redefines that space. She doesn't view level 17 as an empty void. Because it is the precise space the optimization system overlooked, it becomes the only environment where true, unoptimized intention can survive.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a space that exists as its own purpose, rather than just a highly efficient means to an end. It allows her to just be without having to be productive.
So Daan actually starts joining her. They hang out in this dim, dripping basement, drinking cheap 2 a.m. coffee, discussing these massive concepts.
Just two people in a concrete box.
Right. And level 17 becomes a sanctuary for the unoptimized self. But the moment they finally carve out this comfortable threshold, the garage itself begins to physically alter around them.
This is where things get really wild. It begins subtly with the stairwell. Daan has walked these concrete steps for 12 years. He knows the architecture in his bones.
And there are always 17 steps between each level.
Always. But one night, as he descends to meet Vera, the acoustic resonance of the stairwell suddenly shifts. The echo changes.
So he starts counting his steps.
He does 18, 19, 20. The stairwell has structurally extended.
It adds 51 extra steps in total, dropping them 10 meters deeper than the official architectural blueprints say the foundation even goes.
Right into the earth.
Yeah, and at the bottom they find a heavy door. When they push through it, they're no longer in a parking garage. They step into level 18, which is this massive, unlit cavern with a ceiling so high their flashlights vanish into the dark.
And in the center, they find a camp stool, a battery lantern, and a stack of notebooks, left by a previous researcher named Dr. Henrik Voss.
So who is Dr. Voss?
Dr. Voss was an acoustician studying the subterranean resonances of Rotterdam. His notebooks document the hidden history of this depth.
They realize level 18 isn't just an empty cave.
No, level 18, they discover, was utilized during World War II as a German Horchposten, which is a listening post designed to intercept radio frequencies.
But the descent doesn't even stop there, right?
Mm-hmm.
The architecture continues to yield. opening into level 19, which is a corridor running completely underneath a managed artificial lake.
Before finally leading them into level 20.
And level 20 abandons modern construction entirely. It's
Yeah.
not poured concrete anymore. It is raw Pleistocene stone.
It's literally ancient geology.
Yeah. And the room features a weeping ceiling that drips continuously, a single wooden chair placed precisely in the center, and a ceramic bowl resting on the floor, filled with impossibly still water.
And carved directly into the stone wall is a text.
Right, the inscription.
That inscription functions as the thesis for the entire narrative. Translated, it reads, "What is said below is returned to above, and what is known above is given back below in exchange, and the exchange is the purpose, and the purpose is the exchange."
So Voss's notes theorize that this room operates as a natural geological and acoustic lens. It passively gathers centuries of human thoughts, abandoned intentions, and quiet griefs from the surface.
It processes that chaotic noise, holds it, and eventually returns it as finished, coherent sentences.
Wait, let's stop you right there. Are the sources framing this as literal magic, like a sentient cave speaking to people? Because the idea of a rock finishing my thoughts is a huge leap, and it risks turning a grounded psychological story into pure fantasy.
No, that's a fair point, but the author is incredibly careful to avoid supernatural framing. Voss describes it purely through the mechanics of structural acoustics and geology.
Okay, how does that work?
Think about how a cochlea works in the human ear. Sound waves enter as chaotic vibrations in the air. They hit the eardrum, travel into the spinal chamber of the inner ear, and are mechanically translated into electrical signals the brain can comprehend.
So the building is the ear.
Exactly. Voss argues the Europark building is acting as the outer ear. Daan had already documented that the garage's ventilation system, quote-unquote, breathes in an 11-minute cycle.
Right, he noticed the rhythm.
Yeah, and that rhythmic breathing pulls down the microscopic vibrations of human anxiety and intention from the surface, funneling them deep into the Pleistocene stone. The geometry of level 20 acts as an acoustic lens.
Focusing those scattered frequencies the way a magnifying glass focuses sunlight.
Yes, until they form a single harmonic wave, a finished sentence.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because it is framed as an acoustic circuit, it operates on the rules of physics, which means there are consequences to misusing it. A lens that focuses that much psychological weight is dangerous if you face it alone.
And we see that danger play out in the fate of Dr. Voss himself.
What happened to him?
Well, he didn't just leave his notebooks behind and decide to go home. He sat in that wooden chair, alone, for 6 straight hours. Because he was isolated, the room couldn't complete its mechanical exchange. It overwhelmed his cognitive load.
Oh, man.
Voss was later found wandering in a surface alleyway, completely unresponsive. His brain had become trapped in an endless neurological loop.
Permanently finishing a single profound thought.
Yes, the thought was, the light that looks like it is just arriving is already home.
The light that looks like it is just arriving is already home. I mean, it is a stunning piece of poetry, but as a permanent state of mind, it destroyed him.
It did. He became stuck in his own local minimum.
Wow.
If we connect this back to the mechanics of the room, Voss failed because a circuit requires a return path. You cannot have an electrical or acoustic circuit with only a single node. The room demands a bilateral exchange.
Right, so someone must be in the chair to receive the focus frequency, but someone else must remain anchored at the surface to ground the current.
You absolutely need the above and the below simultaneously. And this requirement brings us to a character named Leo Meijer.
Leo Meijer. He's a highly successful corporate lawyer who, as it turns out, has been parking his car on level 17 for 9 years.
9 years without ever telling a single soul it existed.
He unconsciously sought out a space outside the system to park his guilt. He has been acting as the threshold guardian without even knowing it.
And Meijer is carrying an immense psychological burden. Early in his legal career, he constructed a flawless, rhetorically perfect argument that successfully convicted a man of corporate embezzlement.
But then what happened?
8 years later, Meijer uncovered evidence proving the man was entirely innocent. So Meijer isn't just carrying simple regret, he is carrying the crushing existential realization that his incredible intellectual skill was perfectly aligned with a lie.
He proved that a flawless argument can be perfectly wrong.
He used the rules of the system to defeat the truth.
That's devastating. So Daan and Vera, along with a recovering Dr. Voss, form the circuit. They hold their positions at the surface levels, anchoring the exchange, while Meijer descends to level 20 and sits in the chair.
The circuit is complete.
And the acoustic lens gives him his finished sentence. It reflects his guilt back to him as clarity. It tells him, because the perfect argument can be perfectly wrong, the architecture of the argument is never the point. The alignment toward truth is the only point.
You can build a magnificent bridge toward a horizon that simply isn't there.
Exactly. And Meisner finally receives the absolution he has been desperately seeking for 18 years.
It serves as a profound moment of individual cognitive healing. But completing the circuit with a stable return path triggers something much, much larger than personal therapy.
The room shifts again.
Yeah. When the four of them successfully activate the room, Voss's acoustic instruments register a massive change in state. The room stops acting as a passive receiver. It enters what Voss categorizes as a continuous speaking mode.
Which basically means the entire concrete superstructure of the Europark Solutions garage essentially turns into a massive acoustic transmitter.
Yes. It begins broadcasting the room's processed, finished thoughts out into the surrounding city of Rotterdam.
On a subsonic frequency just below human hearing.
This raises an important question, though. If the room has been quietly absorbing the unfinished business of an entire city for decades, what happens to the psychology of a population when those thoughts are suddenly released back into the air?
The narrative suggests the room acts as an incredibly advanced routing system. It matches lost intentions with the specific individuals who possess the emotional capacity to complete them.
And we see this play out in the text through some deeply resonant examples.
We do. For instance, Daan had previously documented cars abandoned on level 10. There's this ancient, dust-covered yellow Citroën 2CV that Daan affectionately named Annalise.
Right.
One night, Daan simply traced his finger through the thick dust on its roof and whispered into the empty concrete, "She was loved." He surrendered that raw thought to the acoustics of the garage.
And because the structure is now in continuous speaking mode, it routed that specific emotional frequency outward. Months later, a man arrives at the ticket barrier at 2 a.m.
This is out of the blue.
Yeah. He is the son of the car's owner who passed away the previous September. He had no logical way of knowing where his mother had left her car, but he woke from a deep sleep with the sudden, overwhelming certainty of its location.
Because the room didn't broadcast literal words.
Yeah.
It took Daan's whispered truth, she was loved, and routed that feeling directly into the subconscious of the grieving son, who desperately needed to experience it to find closure.
It's beautiful, and we see the same mechanism with a character named Fatima. Dr. Annelies de Groot, a physician who routinely parks on level 8, writes a letter to Daan. She's been searching for her missing colleague, a cardiologist named Fatima, for over a year.
And Fatima had parked her car in the facility while navigating a massive, chaotic life transition.
Right, so she left her emotional resonance in that space. The acoustic lens processed that lingering anxiety and routed a profound sense of peace directly into Dr. de Groot's dreams.
The message wasn't an address or a phone number. It was simply the feeling, I am held here. I am all right.
When we look at these events through a psychological lens, we see the ultimate closure of Daan's 0.003 second lag. The room is actively closing the permanent gap between what a human being felt in a specific moment and what was actually recorded by the world.
It returns these finished sentences to the surface, demonstrating the physical spaces don't just hold on to our dropped keys or loose change.
No, they hold the specific frequency of our unexpressed needs. And under the right conditions, they can match those needs to the people actively searching for them.
Through all of this, Daan reaches an incredible realization about his own life's work. For 30 years, the bland, hyper-corporate, perfectly optimized P logo of Europark Solutions has unknowingly been funding and protecting a spiritual relay station.
He's not just a guy in a booth.
Exactly. Daan recognizes that he isn't just a guy trapped in a coffin-sized booth wasting his potential. He is the human relay. He is Gerald. He is the vital, conscious connection between the frantic surface of the city and the deep, silent geology below.
By simply paying attention, he has been performing exactly the function he was meant to perform. And that realization is the conceptual core of this source material. This parking garage is not the destination. It is the route.
The whole narrative functions as a defense of stillness. It argues for the inherent value of paying attention to unoptimized spaces.
Daan didn't need to abandon his small life to find profound meaning. He just needed to cultivate enough stillness for a long enough period to hear what the depth was trying to communicate.
We often treat depth as an escape from the surface. But this story reminds us that depth is simply the foundation the surface stands on.
So true.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now?
It means that the spaces you habitually ignore, The sterile doctor's waiting rooms, the dim, echoing parking garages, the silent, numb commutes on the early morning train, these aren't empty gaps in your existence.
They are not merely loading screens to be endured.
No, they might be the exact environments quietly holding your unfinished business, waiting for you to slow down long enough to receive it. They are the necessary random perturbations your life might require to bump you out of a local minimum and help you locate your global optimum.
I want to leave you with one final thought to explore on your own, something that builds on the mechanics we've discussed today.
Okay.
If a physical, poured concrete parking garage in Rotterdam can function as an acoustic lens that absorbs, processes, and reflects the emotional residue of a physical city, consider the digital spaces we inhabit every single day.
Oh, wow. The architecture of our servers acting as a modern Pleistocene stone.
Think about the sheer volume of abandoned late-night search queries, the unsent text messages lingering in outboxes, the deleted drafts, and the private buried bookmarks.
Just accumulating.
Are those fragments accumulating in some kind of massive digital level 20? They're certainly held in data centers somewhere, and if the internet ever manages to complete its own circuit and enters a continuous speaking mode, what finished sentences is it going to route back into our lives?
That is wild. It forces you to evaluate exactly what kind of resonance you are leaving behind in the algorithms.
It really does. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the source material. The next time you find yourself stuck in a completely mundane, perfectly forgettable space, do not immediately pull out your phone. Take a second. Listen to the silence of your own city. It might just be preparing to speak.